85% of partners prefer a man who is groomed below the waist, and 96% of partners think bad grooming is a major turn-off. That's where Manscaped have come in to help us all out, including myself, lads. The Lawnmower 4.0 is a trimmer specifically designed with our crown jewels in mind. It has skin-safe technology to reduce those nicks and cuts and gives you the maximum confidence while trimming below the waist. It's also IPX7 waterproof rated, so you can operate in wet or dry conditions. It has a premium 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology and a massive 90-minute battery time, which is supported by its wireless electromagnetic charging function. With the Performance Package 4.0, you'll get the Crop Reviver with witch hazel and powerful odor defense. This keeps your balls protected after a good shave. Crop Preserver with its soothing aloe vera and advanced quick absorbing cream, keeping your balls feeling fresh and hydrated. And the Weed Whacker to trim ear and nose hair. The Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to keep you the most groomed man in the room. Use our code XTRA20 XTRA20 at checkout and you'll save yourself 20% off your order and receive free international shipping. Yo, people, how are we doing, man? Welcome back to another stream. Make sure you drop those likes up, man. Get those likes past 112 likes, away from 100 likes. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. Big up for Manscaped for sponsoring today's stream. Remember, guys, you can get 20% off your order and free international shipping at manscaped.com using code XTRA20. The comment's on screen. It's in the pinned comment and description. And obviously, if you want to help support the channel grow, you can become a YouTube channel member. But we've got some big news today. This is coming from Build, who are a pretty decent, reliable source. I mean, they don't get everything right, but they're pretty reliable. What they're coming out with yesterday is quite interesting. This came out last night and it's been filtering through today. Is that they are prepared, the Borussia Dortmund are preparing to offer Jude Bellingham a 1-year contract extension with a massive wage increase and set a release clause at 150 million euros, which is around about 130 million quid, 135 million pounds, which can be activated next season. I find this very, very interesting. I find the whole, you guys know, we did the Haaland stuff, we've done the Ronaldo, the Messi, the Kane. I absolutely love transfer rumors. I think it's proper interesting, proper exciting. I love seeing what different sources are saying. This is a really interesting one, man, because obviously there's no release clause in there. They apparently want to offer him a new contract and put that release clause into the contract, bro. I mean, what are we saying about this?
It's a bit like deja vu for me. It seems like we've been here before and heard this exact report before. You know how we spoke about recently how a lot of the patterns in the Jude Bellingham saga are similar to the patterns in the Real Madrid or the Erling Haaland one with Real Madrid. You know, saying, "Oh, we can no longer afford Erling Haaland, and we're not the bad guys. We're not going to pay the cash." This is similar. Didn't Dortmund make a very similar attempt to get Haaland on a new contract or get him to stay one more year around this time as well? They made one last gasp attempt to say stay another year, or we'll make you the highest paid player in Dortmund history if you stay for another year, and we'll implement this and we'll implement that. It does not come as a surprise that Dortmund would like to hold on to Jude Bellingham for one more year, and that they're making this attempt because it seems like they're making this attempt because they've come to the realization that they're not going to hold on to this player. I would be very, very surprised if Jude Bellingham was to accept this offer. I think Jude Bellingham at this stage himself probably feels ready, and it's time for him to take on a bigger challenge, with all due respect, maybe Premier League or Real Madrid if he decides to go there. But it's no surprise, bro. It's no surprise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting though, isn't it? Because there is no release clause in Jude Bellingham's contract. You can kind of understand why they wanted to get Haaland to sign a new contract, right? Because Haaland had that shitty release clause. So they wanted him to sign a new contract so they could get a better release clause in there. Jude Bellingham doesn't have one. So why would they, if this is true, and of course it might not be true, I mean, this is only speculation. I mean, this might be complete nonsense. But if this is true, does that then and the reported transfer release clause that they want to offer is 130 million? Does that maybe indicate that the conversations Borussia Dortmund are having with Manchester City, Real Madrid, Liverpool, whoever else is involved, doesn't come close to what the fee they're looking for, and therefore they want to iron that into the contract? Maybe City and Liverpool are not willing to go to some of the fees that Dortmund are wanting. Maybe we're quite a way off, and therefore they want to put this in black and white, so then they know that the only way that Jude Bellingham will leave is to get that fee. Because a few people have put this in the stream, in the comments. A couple of people have seen it in the chat. I think DJN put it in the chat, seen a few other people now. Gavin's kind of mentioned it there. If they're only putting a release clause in the contract for 150 million euros, then that's what they want now, right? Because otherwise, why wouldn't you do what you put a higher release clause in the contract, right? So that's clearly what they want, 150 million euros. If this story is true, that almost indicates to me that the clubs that are trying to acquire Jude Bellingham are not getting close to the transfer fee that Borussia Dortmund want. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I think there's possibly an element of that, but for me, it just seems like they want to hold on to him for another year, and they want to extend this contract by a year. So by doing that, it means they can guarantee themselves the same money next year, having got another year at Jude Bellingham, than they can get this year. Because if he doesn't sign the contract now, and they somehow talk him into staying for another year again, it means they'll lose him for a relatively low fee next season compared to what they would this summer. So I think it's future proofing. It's them trying to do two things at once. It's trying to secure Jude Bellingham for another year, probably playing his emotions. You're club captain now, and you're the fan favorite, and you could be a legend of this club. Playing his emotions, get him to stay for another year, whilst also securing the same cash they could next summer. I don't think it's a thing if City and Liverpool or City anyway aren't willing to meet the cash they want. I think there's potentially room for the possibility that City are meeting the cash they want, but Dortmund really want to hold on to the player for another year for following reasons.
Yeah, interesting. Have a look at this. You mentioned Haaland. Just Googled it. Look at this. This is back in October 2021. Borussia Dortmund planning to offer Erling Haaland historic new contract. And if we scroll down, look at the source. Look at the source. Let me get rid of this fucking advert, man. Sport Build claim that Dortmund are looking to spoil the fun by offering Haaland a record-breaking new contract.
This is what I'm on about, man. Deja vu.
That's interesting, man. That's interesting. Now, the question is, will Jude Bellingham sign that? The thing is, Jude Bellingham's obviously a little bit younger than Haaland is. Obviously, Haaland, when he moved, compared to Jude Bellingham. Bellingham is probably not in as much a rush to get a move. But at the same time, for me, if I was him, I would be in a rush to move. And the reason that I say that is things happen very quickly in football, right? Things can change very quickly. Right now, Jude Bellingham's on the top of the world. Everyone wants him. Liverpool, City, United, Chelsea, Real Madrid, PSG, you name it. Any football club in the world who competes at the highest level wants or is interested in acquiring the services of Jude Bellingham. Football can change very, very quickly, and things can change very, very quickly. Bad injury, poor form, there's other stuff as well. These things can happen which can completely change what goes on in football. He's going to get an absolutely massive contract wage-wise if he joins Manchester City or Liverpool or Real Madrid, whoever he joins. So the money aspect of it, he'll be competing for trophies wherever he goes next as well. That's the second point. And he'll probably just maybe enjoy his football a little bit more because he'll be playing with better players than he does at Dortmund right now. So whilst there is maybe not that pressure on his age to make the move now, I still think for him, if I was his agent, I'd be like, no, we need to get this move done, man, because football can change very, very quickly. How many times have we seen a player have a great season, have a great couple of seasons, and then just fall off, get a nasty injury, form dips? He's got to make that move now, man. And I would be very surprised if he was to sign a new contract with a release clause, especially if the release clause is 150 million euros. I don't understand that. Unless, I just don't understand why he would. I know what you're saying about footballing reasons, right? I know, obviously, Dortmund footballing on the pitch would like to keep Jude Bellingham. I get that, right? But they're going to get 150 million euros out of this deal, okay? Maybe a little bit less, maybe like 130 million, right? They're going to get over 100 million quid. So even if they sell Jude Bellingham this year, they're going to get a lot of money to reinvest, bro. So I just don't get this. Obviously, this is just a rumor. It's coming out from Sport Build, but in my view, I don't see this happening. I would be very, very shocked if he signed a new contract.
I don't see it happening at all. Genuinely, I think it genuinely is just a last gasp attempt to hold on to. He is a cult hero in Dortmund. Like when we were out there, what was it, October? We went to Dortmund away. I spoke to a few Dortmund fans around the area I was staying, and they just love Jude Bellingham. They worship him, and they just find it so sad that they form these relationships with players, and then those players get taken away from them so quickly. They've had Gundo, they've had Aubameyang, they've had Haaland, they've had Bellingham now. They've had so many over the years that they absolutely love, but people like us come in and take that player off them. So there must be a lot of determination to hold on to these players for longer than maybe they have done previously, and this is just their best attempt at doing so. But I'm with you. Bellingham needs to leave. He needs to leave. For me, whilst he's not won the Bundesliga or, say, a Champions League with Dortmund, he's kind of completed it. He's kind of completed what he needs to do out there in terms of development. Young English players go to Germany to develop, to progress, to get experience, to work on their craft, and then ultimately do what Jadon Sancho did and get your move back to England or to, a more competitive league with bigger opportunities and more room to develop. I think he's hit his ceiling at Dortmund, with all due respect. I think he's the king there. He's conquered it. Bundesliga, no problem. You've staked your claim there. You've shown what you can do. It's time now for him, who, from what I've heard, listening to him and the way he speaks, it's quite clearly he's highly ambitious, and he wants to keep progressing, keep developing, and learn as much as possible. Basically, hit his maximum potential. And I think he knows the next step for him to do so is get to a club in a league with bigger challenges for him to do so. So come to Manchester City, go to Liverpool, go to Real Madrid. Any of those options is a next step in his journey and his progress and his development. So I think he knows that. I think his agent, I'm pretty sure it's his dad, his dad, will look at the situation and say, yeah, we need to get you out of Dortmund. And that's no disrespect to Dortmund. It's just your level is now higher than Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes when you're playing in a league, which isn't as strong as the Premier League. You can hit your ceiling. And if you don't make that next step and challenge yourself, and it's a gamble. I mean, if we look at someone like a Jadon Sancho, right? Jadon Sancho was tearing it up at Borussia Dortmund, absolutely smashing it, getting incredible goals and assist numbers. Like I think we're getting like 40 goal involvements in a season. Brilliant, smashing it. He's challenged himself. He's come to the Premier League and he's challenged himself. It's not quite worked out for him at Manchester United. It has worked out for Erling Haaland, and now look at him. His stocks have gone up since he's joined Manchester City, because now people know the Bundesliga is not as strong as the Premier League, right? It's one thing to do it in Germany, and Germany's a good league, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's shit, but like it's not a top league. It's not the top league. You know, the Premier League is a top league, and it's more difficult. So if you can reach your top in the Bundesliga and then make the step across to the Premier League and still do as well, if not improve, then for yourself, you're going to get better as a player. Your stocks will rise. You know what I mean? You'll be able to demand bigger cash, sponsorship deals. You'll be able to negotiate bigger deals. And I think you'll just be more respected as a player. You know, unless you are literally like a GOAT, like a Lewandowski or someone who, you know, even though he's been in the Bundesliga the majority of his career, you know that if he would have come to the Premier League, he would have slammed it. With the younger players, right? Because he's done it in the Champions League. With younger players, they've not really performed at that high level in the Champions League. And Jude Bellingham will never do that at Dortmund, or unlikely to, because it's unlikely that Borussia Dortmund will reach semi-finals and finals of the Champions League, because they don't really get there. They normally get knocked out in the quarters or the last 16, right? He's not going to be able to challenge himself at the top level. And this is what it's about. And this is exactly what you just said. And I agree. I do think he needs to make that move. And it will be interesting to see what happened. I doubt this will happen. I doubt Jude Bellingham will sign a new contract at Borussia Dortmund. I think like you say, maybe Dortmund are looking at trying to make it happen, as you say, like more of a last-ditch attempt to keep him. And maybe that explains the 150 million release clause then, because they could say to him, look, we want to keep you for one more year because we think you're crucial to us and we would like to plan a little bit ahead. Sign a new contract. We'll give you bigger wages, but we won't increase the transfer fee for next season, even if you do unbelievably well next season. And in fact, we'll put in the release clause of 150 million euros, which teams are going to pay this year anyway, so you'll be able to go. And maybe that's the way that they're trying to interact. Because one thing that I didn't understand with this latest rumour is why would they only offer a 150 million euro release clause? But if it's, as you say, that they're just trying to keep him for one more season for footballing reasons, and it's not about the money, that then might explain the release clause. But I just think when push comes to shove, if a top team comes in for Jude Bellingham and offers the money that Dortmund are looking for, he ain't going to be like, I'm going to stay for one more year because Dortmund want to keep me for a year for football. He's going to make the jump, right? He's looking at Manchester City playing in the Champions League now against Bayern Munich, potentially going on to play Real Madrid. He's looking at Liverpool. I know obviously Liverpool have had a tough year and I know they got beat off Real Madrid, but you're a fool if you don't think they'll be coming back stronger next season. You'll be looking at them thinking, I can go there, reinvigorate the side. Maybe if Liverpool don't have top four, you might have to think about it. United are spending money left, right and centre, and United would offer him probably the most money out of all three of them English teams because they are typically the biggest spenders in the Premier League. Look at the way Ten Hag's making United improve. I could be part of that. If they go and sign Harry Kane as well in the summer, which they may well do if they get these Qatar owners, we could be part of like a new sort of project there. Or we could maybe go to PSG, live it up in Paris, get the big cash. Real Madrid, there's different options. I just think when push comes to shove, I think he'll make the move, and it's just where does he go? It's interesting, but yeah,
I think he's coming to England, bro. I think he's coming to England. I want to write off Real Madrid from the situation for now, based off the reports from Marca, and I think DiMarzio as well last week was saying that Real Madrid are low-key pulling out. They're low-key saying they don't want to compete or they can't compete financially currently with at least Manchester City anyway, maybe Liverpool too. And knowing him the way he is and the way he speaks, like I said, you can read a lot and take a lot from the way Jude Bellingham speaks about his own career and what he wants to do moving forward. And based off what he says and the way he speaks, the obvious move for him is to England. It's back to England, back to conquer what he probably grew up dreaming of doing. He's not from Madrid. He's not from Spain. He plays in the English national team with all these Premier League superstars, and he's hearing them talk about it. He's seeing them progress, win Champions Leagues, win Premier Leagues. He needs and probably feels he wants to and probably feels he needs to come back and do that. But listen, we just spoke about players hitting their ceiling in Germany, then coming to the bigger and badder league with bigger challenges, and Jadon Sancho and that kind of thing. I wanted to make this point, and I've been saying it to Liverpool fans, and I think City fans who are clued in will understand this as well. The pressure we put on Jude Bellingham when he comes in cannot be huge. You cannot expect Jude Bellingham, if he does come to whoever, and say he is going to be the game changer. He potentially could be, but I think at Manchester City, he's more likely to get that leeway of, right, he's allowed to bet in, he's allowed to develop, he's allowed that, gain the experience. Whereas if he goes to Liverpool think they're getting, Maradona. Liverpool, if they get Bellingham, they think he's going to come in and he's going to win them Champions League. He's going to make their team, not just their midfield. He's going to be it. I think that's crazy, crazy pressure to put on a 19-year-old who has only played in Germany. I think that's absolutely mind-blowing, and it's really unfair on the player himself. Whether he says he's open to it and he takes it in stride or not, that's one thing. I think it's really unfair. I think for progress, for development, for learning, Manchester City, it's the best place for him right now. And I think he's looking at that, and I think that's why Ornstein and other big journalists are now saying City are really pushing and believe they can get it done.
Yeah, as well, I just think he'll play, in my opinion, if he joins Manchester City, I think he'll play next to Rodri, and I think he'll be a box-to-box midfielder. I've seen some people think he's going to play in the cam position, in the 8 role. I just don't see it. I don't think he's that player. I really don't think he's like an out-and-out attacking player. I think he's a box-to-box. I can do a little bit of everything. Bit similar maybe to Gundogan, but different sort of physical profile. And obviously stature and that. I don't think he'll be playing in the Kevin De Bruyne position just behind Erling Haaland. I don't think he'll be playing in the David Silva position. I'd have him right next to Rodri, playing box to box, joining in the attacks when we've got the ball and helping out defensively when we've not got it. That's the position I see him being in. So in terms of being a match winner, I think you're quite right. I would be quite surprised if Jude Bellingham does become a match winner, because and it's my own opinion, of course, I don't personally see him playing that far advanced up the football pitch. I think, and therefore, he probably will get a bit of stick. You know what I mean? Because I don't think he'll get the stats necessarily. And I could be completely wrong, obviously. I'm just giving you my view. I don't think he's going to get the goals and assists that maybe he gets in Germany. I mean, if we look at his goals and assists for this season, let me bring it up on screen here, guys, so you can actually see what I'm looking at here. Here we go. This season, obviously, he's had a few injuries, but he's got 10 goals, 6 assists. If we go back to last season, we've got 6 goals, 14 assists. He's getting 20 goal involvements in a season in the Bundesliga. I would expect that to drop slightly. I'd be surprised. It's quite funny. The number I'm going to give out is one that Rory Jennings has since been punished for a lot. But I'd be quite surprised if he got maybe 15 goal involvements in a season. And it's not because I don't rate him. It's not because I don't think he's good. It's not because I don't respect the establishment. It's just I don't think he's going to. Yeah, I just don't think it's going to be in the position that people maybe think. I think he's going to play a lot deeper than maybe other people thinking. And this is obviously just my view. Maybe he does come in and play more advanced. If he does, he will get a lot more than 15 goals. But if it was me, I think when I've seen the best Jude Bellingham, it's when he's been in the centre of the football pitch, joining in with attacks, but also doing the dirty work in the defence. And that's why I think City want him, because he can do a bit of everything.
See, I'm different, LB. I respect the establishment. I would never, ever disrespect the establishment. I hold that with the utmost respect. But no, I'm with you. And I see people in the chat saying it. I can't see them now, but someone said it. I think he is the glove, the fit like a glove, the like for like, perfect replacement for the captain, Ilkay Gundogan. He can come in and he can take up that role. I think that's exactly what he'll do. Box to box. He can do defending. He can do link-up play. He'll chip in with a goal here and there, ghost into the back post, that kind of thing. He won't play that chief creator role that Kevin De Bruyne does. It's not his game. For those of you who watch Jude Bellingham, I've done it loads of times. I like watching Dortmund, and I've been out there to watch Dortmund, and I watch them on telly and that kind of thing. He's not chief creator. It's not his thing. It's not his biggest asset, if you like. It's his overall rounded game, box to box, getting involved in everything. He's everywhere. And Gundo does a lot of that. But listen, the thing with Manchester City as well is we are very tolerant, more so than anybody else, if you ask me, in the top 4, the top 6. As a fan base of players who don't hit the ground running, or you set really high expectation of them and they don't hit straight away, we will defend them. Whereas if he goes to Liverpool and he doesn't hit the ground running the way they would like, I've seen people saying Liverpool think they're getting their next Gerrard. That's true, they do. They think they're getting their next Steven Gerrard. All of a sudden, he's getting all this stick from both Liverpool fans. Oh, this isn't what we expected. We thought we were getting, you know, a world-class midfielder at the age of 19. And then everybody outside saying, oh, Bellingham's flopped. Whereas us, we're like, nah, Bellingham's doing his thing. He's learning. He's growing. He's learning off the players around him. He's bedding in. The same way we were with Jack Grealish.
But bro, that's where I'm a little bit worried, though, man. That's where I'm a little bit worried with some of the fan base, in that I think people believe that Jude Bellingham is the ready-made thing. I think
he's not.
I agree, but I'm worried that maybe
you can't be the ready-made product. You can't be the ready-made product to hit the levels that we're talking about here. For Manchester City, we're talking about you need to be world-class eventually. We're talking about that, but he's not. You can't be that at 19, having played for Dortmund. I'm not saying you can't be a terrific player with really high potential, which he does. I don't think he's world class right now. I think he's a brilliant young player with a massive ceiling, and he needs to take the next step in his career to, you know, try hit that ceiling. But for us to already label this guy as generational, game changer, Premier League clinching, Champions League clinching, I think is wrong. I genuinely think it's wrong. I think you could say that about Erling Haaland before he arrived, because he's just a complete freak. Jude Bellingham is not in that category. But, like I said, and I want to stress this, he does have a really, really high ceiling. If he makes the right career move and develops properly under the right guidance and tenure, he could be in the conversation of your Lampards, Gerrards, Scholeses eventually. But he's not that just yet. And that's just bottom line.
Yeah, no, I agree. Big up Jake with a $2 donation. Says Wagwan Generals coming in with the two. Big up Jake for the super chat. Make sure you guys have smashed a like on the stream if you've not done so already. By the way, we're on 144 likes, over 400 people in the stream today. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Let's get those likes up, man. Let's get past 156 people. Hit that thumbs up button and get us past 150 likes. I want to talk a little bit about his injuries. A lot of people talking about the fact he's always strapped up and shit, right? But before we do, let me run the Manscaped ad again. You guys smash whatever fruit and veg you want in the chat. Let's go. 85% of partners prefer a man who is groomed below the waist, and 96% of partners think bad grooming is a major turn-off. That's where Manscaped have come in to help us all out, including myself, lads. The Lawnmower 4.0 is a trimmer specifically designed with our crown jewels in mind. It has skin-safe technology to reduce those nicks and cuts and gives you the maximum confidence while trimming below the waist. It's also IPX7 waterproof rated, so you can operate in wet or dry conditions. It has a premium 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology and a massive 90-minute battery time, which is supported by its wireless electromagnetic charging function. With the Performance Package 4.0, you'll get the Crop Reviver with witch hazel and powerful odor defense. This keeps your balls protected after a good shave. Crop Preserver with its soothing aloe vera and advanced quick absorbing cream, keeping your balls feeling fresh and hydrated. And the Weed Whacker to trim ear and nose hair. The Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to keep you the most groomed man in the room. Use our code Xtra20 XTRA20 at checkout and you'll save yourself 20% off your order and receive free international shipping. Just big up Manscaped for sponsoring the stream, man. You know where you can get the discount. Manscaped.com, 20% off and free international shipping. Use code Xtra20 XTRA20 at checkout for your discount to be automatically applied. Now, I want to speak about his injuries, right? We've had a look before, but we've never really gone that deep into it. Now, his actual injury record, according to Transfermarkt, is absolutely incredible. He's only had 2 injuries throughout his whole career, missing a total of 17 days and only 3 games, right? Brilliant. Do you, bro, or anyone in the chat here, have any concerns about the amount of straps that this guy seems to be having on his body when he's playing football matches? I'm seeing straps on his shoulder. I'm seeing straps on his knees. Is this a concern? Is this nothing to do with injuries? Is this nothing to do with pain? Because let me just tell you something, yeah? When you're spending £120 million on a player, when he's got straps all over his knees and shoulders, I get a little bit worried, man. I can't lie.
I feel bad for him, man. I don't think it's that he's picking up serious injuries. I think it's just wear and tear. I think it's serious wear and tear. The kid does not miss a game for Dortmund. The kid does not miss a game for England. Recently, he's playing non-stop. And whatever way you want to look at it, it's not good for a 19-year-old to be playing twice a week, every week, different competitions, getting kicked around the park. We know the middle of the park is a very demanding area to pitch physically, a lot of running, a lot of 50-50 challenges, and he's a combative player as well. I've seen him, man. I looked at him for England the other day, and because he wears the all-white kit, the black bandaging was really prominent. You could see it. Left leg really heavily bandaged up. He took his shirt off after a Dortmund game recently. I saw his shoulder and his chest and his back heavily strapped up. And this just aids my point further. Come to Manchester City, the reliance and demands on your body won't be as heavy as they are where you are right now. Or if you go to Liverpool, you won't have to play 90 minutes of every single game for Manchester City. He just won't. So it's almost like giving his body a little bit of a break while he's also developing and learning. He's too crucial for Dortmund right now. They feel they have to play him every single game. And if he goes to Liverpool, he's too crucial there. He has to play every single game. This kid could be absolutely bollocksed by the age of 25 if he's not managed properly, if he's not managed carefully. And this is something where his dad, who's his agent, and as a parent, needs to step in and say, this is going to hinder his long-term development and his prospects going forward. Because it is. If he's showing the signs now of carrying problems constantly and playing through problems and probably doing the painkiller injections and all that, those sort of things at 19 years old, I'm concerned as a parent. I'm concerned as an agent that my son is not being treated properly. Because you know what? When you break it down to the fine cynicalness of professional football, they do just look at their best players as a piece of meat. That you can make money off. He'll win you trophies. He's a piece of meat. You rinse him. You get as much out of him as possible while he's playing well and he's fresh, and then you move him on when he's no longer of use to you. But for us, we need to preserve these talents. If we get Jude Bellingham, we need to preserve him. I saw someone at the start of the stream say, sign him now for 150 million. You could have him for 10, 12 years. Play him every 3 days for 5 years. He ain't being Jude Bellingham for 10, 12 years. You'll get Jude Bellingham at his best for 5 years, and you get some average midfielder for the other 5. You need to be careful with these kind of things. And that's why, bringing in more and more midfield backup is crucial.
I agree, completely agree with the point. And it's funny enough, actually, I'm going to go on to what Jake is saying here with the super chat. He says he may be 19, but his body's played first team football since 14, 15 years old. Well, if you look at the stats, in 1920, he was 16 years old. He played 44 games, 3,000 minutes. He played in the championship, people. That's a difficult league to play in for anyone. That's hard for a 6'4", 30-year-old player to play in. For a 16-year-old to play in the championship, very, very tough. It's a very, very physical league, is the championship. We go to the year after. This year, he's 17 years old. He played another 46 games. Again, 3,000 minutes, near or less. He played in the Bundesliga. That's when he's 17. 18 years old. Last season, he played 44 games, 3,700 minutes, 3,800 minutes, if you round it up, pretty much. Absolutely incredible. And then so far this season, with still around a quarter of the season left to play, including cup competitions and leagues, he's currently on 2,900 minutes, 34 games played. I completely agree with the point. And this is why Harry Kane would have been great at Manchester City as well, because we would have protected him. We as a football club, there's two things we're very good at. One, it's that we build a good squad, so we don't need to spam you out. We're a team that is able to rest Kevin De Bruyne and still get wins. We can rest Erling Haaland and still get wins. We can rest Ruben Diaz and still get wins. Why? Because we have a good squad, right? Other football clubs, and it's not, I don't necessarily blame them. I mean, not everyone can be at the level that Manchester City are and have the finance and the power that Manchester City have. Not only that, but we are an extremely well-run club to be able to do that. Harry Kane, this is the thing about the Harry Kane thing. I remember when we was in for Harry Kane, and there was a lot of people in the stream comments saying, don't want him, he's got really bad injury record. If you actually did research on the injuries, he'd get an ankle injury, and then as soon as he'd recovered, he'd be back into the side, Harry Kane, and it'd be 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, until his next injury. That would never happen at Manchester City. We'd hold him back, just like we did with Ruben Diaz. He wouldn't come back into this team straight away. And then first game, he might play an hour, or he might be subbed on. Second game, 70 minutes. And then he'd start playing 90 minutes. And it'd still be rare that he actually finished a football match. Other football clubs don't manage players like that. And people can't say, oh, yeah, it's only because you're Man City. Tottenham couldn't do that with Harry Kane. You go and have a look at how many times Spurs are 3-0 up and they keep Harry Kane on. You look at how many times City go 3-0 up and we take Erling Haaland off. Why? Because we protect our players. And yes, maybe at the time the player wants to play more, score more goals or whatever. It's about protecting the player. And I fully agree. I think with Jude Bellingham, you've got a player here who needs development because he's still not at his best and he's nowhere near his best. I believe he's got a massive potential to be one of the best players to ever have played the game. But he's a long way off that, and he needs good coaching and development. He needs a team that will not spam him 90 minutes week in, week out. And then some people are like, what are you about? Why don't you want to play him week in, week out? Exactly what I've just said and Hugh mentioned then. So that the player doesn't get burnt out. So the player can have rest, recovery, and properly look after his body. That kid's body, right? Jude Bellingham's body has been played week in, week out since he's 16, 15 years old or whatever. He's not had a break, man. And as you said as well, he's been playing for England. Southgate loves him, so he plays for England every game. He doesn't have a break, and we need to be very, very careful if we get Jude Bellingham to manage that properly. Luckily for me, I don't really have any doubts that Manchester City will not do that properly because we are very good at managing players, and I think we will do it.
Yeah, I think Erling Haaland is the best example. He was spammed for 90 minutes every single game for Dortmund because he was that crucial to them. He comes to Manchester City. How often do you see us go 2-0 up and Erling Haaland is not hooked from the starting or from the pitch? Because we understand that this guy who does have potential injury problems on the horizon every now and then, we're doing our best to prevent them and to preserve him from picking those up. And let me give you an example. It just came to my head there as we were speaking about it. Raheem Sterling, for me, is a prime example of the problem we're talking about. Raheem Sterling broke into that Liverpool side age 16, and he immediately became really important. He was so explosive, full of energy, dynamism. He brought everything to the team, and he was class. Raheem Sterling was brilliant. We got the best out of Raheem Sterling. He's now 27, 28, when he should be, in theory, at his very best. But he's been playing Premier League football for over a decade. Over a decade. And he doesn't look himself. Raheem Sterling right now looks a physical shadow of what he was 5 years ago. We got his best years because he played non-stop for Liverpool, for City, and now Chelsea have Raheem Sterling, who's just burnt out. And it's not just burnout where he needs 2 or 3 months off to put his feet up. It's genuine, just physical burnout. You can't do what you were able to do when you were 21, 22. So a good club will manage that and prevent that from happening. You see City have done it with David Silva, with Aguero, with De Bruyne and other players too. You look after them. You don't overexhaust them. I know Aguero had his problems too, but that was kind of out of our hands, really, wasn't it? But you know the point I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Just to peak too soon.
Yeah, just to expand on that. First of all, big up to the Diaz dynasty here for tagging us in this because it's an excellent post. Big up Diaz dynasty. I guess you're in the stream. Big up yourself. This I don't know. I assume he's actually made the spreadsheet. It's called Luke on Twitter. Lou ORNS has made this document. I assume he's made the document. He's posted it, and this shows you. I don't know if you can fully see that. The games played by Jude Bellingham, minutes played, game started. Minutes in games played started before their 20th birthday. Jude Bellingham is at the top of the list. At the top of the list. So for anyone listening to this conversation and going, I don't know about this, boys, I think you're overreacting. I don't think we are. I think you've got to be very, very careful about managing him. And I think that as fans, we have to be patient to allow him to have that building in period and allow him to adapt to the game. This guy's never played in the Premier League. He's never played in the Premier League. Played in the Championship. Championship is completely different to the Premier League. Mark my words on that. Completely different. Just because it's in the same country, don't mean it's the same style of football. It's a completely different style, and it's a hard league. Some people say it's actually harder than the Premier League. It's all physical, and you've got more games, more demanding. So we do have to be careful with Jude Bellingham. Luckily, I don't really have any problems with it. I think City would manage it correctly, and that's one of the reasons I want him to join.
Let me just address. Pep Merchant in the chat says nonsense, Hugh, but you do you. I'm being serious. Go and watch Raheem Sterling next time he plays. Go and watch any of his performances this season and tell me that's the same player with the same physical capabilities that he had when he was 21, 22. He's nowhere near as explosive. He's nowhere near as effective. His legs don't have that same world-class burst and energy that they used to. And that's because he's been playing non-stop since he was 16. And that's the overall point we're making. That with Jude Bellingham, if we get him in the door, we need to prevent that kind of thing happening. It happens. When these young players burst onto the scene at 16, 17 years of age, like Bellingham did, he was starting for Dortmund in the Champions League when he was 17 against us. You have to be careful with that. It's great. We all enjoy it. We go, this player is great. He's class. He's one for the future. But if you really want them to be one for the future, you have to micromanage how much they play. And that's just, that's fact. This happens to so many players over the years. And I'll die on that hill. I believe that's happened to Raheem Sterling.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I can see it, certainly see it as a possibility. I mean, he was on the list as well. He's like ninth on the list of the players that have played a lot of minutes, you know. And I think especially with the more explosive players, I do think you do have to be careful because it's that explosiveness that makes the player. And if they lose that explosiveness, then no, are they the same player? Probably not. You know, players like let's have a look who else is on this list. Ian Robin, you know, he's on the list, but he had much more to his game than someone like a Sterling. Hazard's a prime example. Hazard's 11th on the list of players who played the most minutes before the 20th birthday. Look at him now.
Where's
Guy's
he now,
absolutely
man? He's
in a
finished.
hospital. He's in a hospital, bro, because he's fucking picking up injuries left, right, and centre. The guy can't stay fit. You know, you do have to be careful. Now, luckily, I don't think Jude Bellingham is necessarily an explosive player in that
No, but he's
sort of.
combative though. He's combative.
He
gets
is.
stuck in.
He is, but he's not a player that I think relies on pace and acceleration. I think he has much more to his game, and he has a nice craft around his technical ability. So I think he'll be okay. However, you still got to manage him correctly. Big up Jay, by the way, member for 7 months. I think you were the guy, Diaz Dynasty, bro. I guess Chet mentions on Extra Pod. Yeah, big up, man. Thank you very much for tagging me in. That's a nice little. Might give that a bit of a retweet. Actually, that's a nice little graph that guy's made. So respect that. That must have took him some time to get all that done. Jesus, respect that guy. But yeah, that's where we're at the moment. We'll have to wait and see. As I say, going back to the contract thing, I believe that the rumor is probably true that Dortmund offer 1 year contract to Bellingham due to footballing reasons. However, I don't believe that Bellingham would sign the contract. I doubt he'd sign the contract. It just feels like there's too much going on. I also feel that like he probably would have signed the contract by now if he wanted to stay, right? He wouldn't have left it this long. I mean, there's 2 months left of the season. I think he would have signed a deal right now, you know, because the deal's on the table. Dortmund aren't going to fuck about. If they want to keep Jude Bellingham for an extra year, they're going to offer the most possible money they can to Jude Bellingham and say, this is the most we can offer you. Come to us, stay next season, and then we'll sell you next season at 150. If he's happy with the fee and he wants to stay and sign a contract, so I doubt that he's going to sign it now. And now it's just a case of which football club is going to sign Jude Bellingham. Grizz still pretty confident.
Grizz is always confident, man. Grizz has always been confident about Jude Bellingham, isn't that what he says? But yeah, look, for me, like I said, it just seems like Dortmund are planning for the future. They're planning for the future. They're saying, right, we want you to be part of the setup next year. This is what we can offer you. Accept it or don't accept it is up to you. So he doesn't accept it. They say, right, now we're planning for the case of having £125 million at our disposal in June, July, and August. What are we going to look at there? This is them planning for next season. And then if he agrees to the contract, they don't have to do that planning in the summer. They don't have to make those transfers. So this is the way it is. And it was the exact same. This is what I said at the very start of the stream. This is the exact same with Erling Haaland. They made the same attempt, new contract, improve wages, stay 1 more year kind of thing. And Haaland said no. Haaland made the decision. He wants to go and test himself at a higher level. Will Jude do the same thing, chat?
It's an interesting one. And again, this Jude Bellingham thing is such a fascinating story. You've got to stay tuned on the channel, man, because you can miss like one stream on the Jude Bellingham thing and then be completely lost. So if you make sure you got your notification bell on, make sure you're joining us for all these Jude Bellingham streams. If you do miss them, make sure you watch them back on replay, man, because little things that you can miss and you can be sort of out of the loop on that. Guys, hopefully you've enjoyed the stream. If you have, make sure you drop a like on the stream. We're 5 likes away from 200. Let's see if you can get it to 200 likes before the end of the stream. Massive shout out to Manscaped for sponsoring today's stream. Remember, guys, you can get 20% off your order and free international shipping at manscaped.com using code XTRA20, XTRA20 at checkout, and you'll get that discount and free shipping. Guys, been a pleasure as always. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later, man.